Welcome to Vanguard, where humans aren't the underdogs. We're the endgame. Enjoy the journey. The storm lights of Station Alpha 9 pulsed like an artificial heartbeat, glowing red across the command center in long, rhythmic flashes that painted every console, officer, and metallic wall panel in a violent crimson wash. Admiral Vexhai looked up from the tactical reports hovering above his desk, all four of his heavy forearms pausing mid-gesture as he sensed the sudden shift in atmosphere. His eyes, deep red and sharply predatory, swept the room, evaluating the tension building among the crew. After centuries of defending the Empire's borders, his instincts had grown sharper than any scanner. He leaned forward, tapping a cluster of runes on his command stand. Sensor readings cascaded into place as holographic projections. The data was wrong, not just unusual, impossible. "That cannot be accurate," he muttered, his voice low and gravelly, like stone plates grinding under pressure. He checked the readings twice, then a third time. No change. Static spikes, energy distortion, spatial displacement, all in a region that had been silent and empty for 3 centuries. Lieutenant Zara, positioned at the front of the command deck, turned toward him. Her blue skin, normally pale and smooth, darkened with rising stress, veins glowing a faint ultraviolet beneath the surface. "Sir," she said cautiously, "I've rerun the triangulation scan 8 times. The anomaly at grid 77 Alpha is real." The command center fell into a tense hush. Officers exchanged uneasy glances. Alpha 9 was the Empire's outermost sentinel fortress. Nothing unexpected ever happened here. The Empire's borders were absolute, predictable, controlled. Vexhai rose to his full height, over 8 feet, and marched toward the main display. His footfalls echoed like drumbeats. "Show me the visual." Static shimmered across the holographic screen. At first, nothing appeared, just the silent void, cold and comfortingly empty, as it always had been. Then the distortion sharpened. Something emerged. The image resolved into the silhouette of a vessel, long, sleek, white, and utterly alien. Its hull glowed faintly, as though illuminated from beneath the surface by contained starlight. Flowing markings ran across it like calligraphy etched in living metal. But the most disturbing feature was what wasn't there. No weapons, no slave holds, no armor toning, no familiar power grid patterns. A ship with no class, no designation, no signature. "Identification protocols," Vexhai ordered, even though he already sensed the outcome. "Running now," Zara replied. Her hands danced across her console, her brow furrowed in disbelief. No match in any database. Not Empire, not Fringe, not even historical anomalies. "Absurd," Vexhai growled, though the growl held the first faint crack of uncertainty. Every species worth naming is cataloged. Dozens of officers had abandoned their tasks and now stared at the mysterious ship. The longer they looked, the more wrong it felt. The vessel wasn't floating. It was poised, like a creature observing its surroundings. No drift, no correction jets, perfect stillness. And that energy reading, some officers clutched their temples from mild feedback pain. Vexhai lifted a forearm. "Open a communication channel. If this newcomer seeks hostility, we will crush them swiftly. If they seek servitude, even better." The static cleared, and then every officer stepped back involuntarily. A face appeared. A biped, bilateral symmetry, soft skin, only 2 arms, hair, actual hair, growing from the top of its head. A female, if the visual cues matched Empire biology. No military caste in the galaxy allowed females to lead. The concept was beyond absurd. It was profane. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the United Earthship Prometheus," the human said. Her voice was calm, controlled, and most jarring of all, in perfect galactic standard. No translator lag, no phonetic struggle. Perfect fluency. "We come in peace, seeking contact with the civilizations of this region." The command center erupted in frantic whispers. Vexhai lifted a hand and silenced them instantly. Leaning closer, he spoke with the clipped superiority of one addressing a misguided pet. I am Admiral Vexhai of the Catharan Empire. Identify your species and justify your presence in our territory. We are humans, she replied, smiling slightly, revealing unsettlingly white teeth. We have traveled 847 light-years to make peaceful contact. Zara's console pulsed with new data. She froze. Admiral, their origin coordinates. It's a dead zone. Our surveys marked it barren and uninhabitable for centuries. How could anything evolve there? Another officer muttered. Vexhai narrowed his eyes. Your scans must be mistaken. Elena Vasquez didn't flinch. Perhaps your maps need updating, Admiral. Her tone, light, almost teasing, pricked something deep in Vexhai's pride. We will allow you to dock, he said finally. At Station Nexus 7. You will surrender all weapons and undergo standard processing. Elena's expression cooled by a fraction. Processing? All species must be evaluated, Vexhai explained, his voice slipping into paternal condescension. Your roles in the Empire will be assigned according to ability. Labor, military servitude, technical maintenance. You will be placed appropriately. A long pause. Elena didn't raise her voice. She didn't scowl. But something in her eyes, something cold, shifted. I see. You will comply, Vexhai insisted. No species refuses the Empire's order. We will dock at your station, she said at last. We look forward to meeting you in person. The display cut out. For several seconds, the room stayed silent. Then officers burst into frantic conversation. Vexhai lifted a fist, and silence swept through the room again. Prepare a diplomatic reception and deploy full security. These humans exhibit a peculiar level of arrogance. Zara glanced again at the energy readings. Sir, there is something strange about their ship. What now? It's the power output. It's enormous, beyond Dreadnought class. And the hull, our scans can't penetrate it. I've never seen readings like these. Vexhai waved dismissively. Primitive species often compensate for ignorance with inefficient, unstable power cores. But even he didn't fully believe his own words. The Prometheus glided toward Nexus 7, moving with effortless precision. Each micro-adjustment of its trajectory suggested mastery over physics itself. There was no drift, no correction lag, no wasted motion. The ship behaved like it knew the laws of space intimately, like it had written them. Hours later, Vexhai stood at the center of Nexus 7's docking bay, flanked by elite Catharan soldiers and representatives of the slave castes that upheld the Empire's economy. His armor gleamed, his posture towered, his presence radiated dominance. The airlock cycled, steam hissed, and the humans stepped out. Every expectation Vexhai had cultivated unraveled immediately. Humans were smaller, lighter, softer, but they moved wrong. Not timid, not confused, but confident, controlled, sharp. Their leader emerged first, Captain Elena Vasquez, her eyes scanning the environment with measured calm. Behind her walked 5 humans, 2 soldiers, visibly unarmed but carrying themselves with lethal discipline, 2 scientists, their posture equally collected, a diplomat whose gaze flickered with quiet calculation. These were not primitives. These were not lost wanderers. These were predators wearing polite smiles. Admiral Vexhai, Elena said with a respectful bow, thank you for receiving us. You are the first of your kind to reach civilized space, Vexhai declared. This is a historic moment. Elena's eyes drifted to a group of Zelani workers loading cargo under guard supervision. Their wrists bore energy binding cuffs, their movements slow, desperate, exhausted. One stumbled from fatigue. A guard prodded them cruelly. Elena's soldiers tensed visibly. Her face didn't change, but something behind her eyes hardened. We hope this is the beginning of a lasting friendship, she replied. Come, Vexhai gestured. The High Council awaits. They will determine your species proper place. As they walked through the sterile, metallic corridors of Nexus 7, the humans observed everything with unnerving attentiveness. Their gazes weren't fearful. They were studying, recording, assessing. This station is impressive, Elena noted neutrally. Order brings efficiency, Vexhai said proudly. Every species fulfills its natural role. One of Elena's soldiers murmured something in their native language. Vexhai's translator caught fragments. Disgusting, slavery, unacceptable. He frowned. Let them be displeased, he thought. They will learn their place soon enough. The massive chamber doors slid open, revealing the circular hall of the Imperial High Council. 7 towering seats, one for each major species of the Empire, surrounded a central platform where the humans were meant to stand. This was usually the place where new species trembled and begged for mercy. Today, the Council would get something very different. And deep inside, Vexhai felt a tremor he had not felt in centuries. A faint, unfamiliar sensation. Unease. The doors to the High Council chamber sealed shut behind the humans, with a heavy metallic thud that echoed across the vast circular hall like the closing of a tomb. The ceiling arched impossibly high above, vanishing into swirling shadows and glittering data constellations, millions of flickering hologlyphs mapping the Empire's dominion across 10,000 worlds. The air smelled of ozone, polished crystal, and the faint metallic tang of authority. 7 colossal thrones formed a perfect ring around the central presentation platform. Each chair was shaped for its species, the crystalline throne glimmering with prismatic, refracted light, the Void Dweller's seat appearing to absorb all illumination, the Zephyrian pod-lined in organic membranes, the massive Catharan throne towering above the rest like a predator's perch. This was the room where entire civilizations had been categorized, assigned, and reshaped according to the Empire's will. Today, humanity stood in the center of it. Elena Vasquez walked forward with deliberate composure, her boots tapping softly on the polished obsidian floor. Commander Marcus Chen took position at her right, muscles relaxed but ready, eyes constantly sweeping for threats. Dr. Sarah Kim checked her wrist device, running diagnostics with the quiet focus of someone who never stopped analyzing. Lieutenant Rodriguez and the 2 appointed diplomats held formation behind. Vexhai took his seat in the grandest throne, high above the others. His 4 arms rested on the stone rests, like the limbs of a god carved from brutality itself. His eyes glowed with imperial satisfaction. The others settled into their places, each species evaluating the humans with a blend of amusement, curiosity, and contempt. Humans of Earth, Vexhai thundered, his voice amplified through the chamber's resonant acoustics. You stand before the Galactic Council, rulers of this sector. We will now determine your species' role within our empire. Elena stepped forward, chin raised, shoulders squared. With respect, Admiral, we did not come to be evaluated. We came seeking diplomatic relations between equals. A crystalline chiming sound rippled across the chamber. It took Elena a moment to realize it was laughter. The crystalline representative chimed in rising harmonics, its version of hysterics. The Zephyrian's tentacles writhed with amusement. Even the Void Dweller's form shimmered, vibrating in what might have been dark mirth. Equals, Vexhai repeated, voice dripping incredulity. You arrive in a single ship from a region your kind should be incapable of inhabiting, and you dare speak of equality? Elena's expression remained impeccably composed. Perhaps you underestimate us. We do not underestimate primitives, the crystalline delegate retorted. We have measured you. Your bodies are fragile, your biology inefficient, your evolution crude. You have nothing to offer. Elena smiled politely. Then perhaps we may begin with scientific exchange. Science? The Zephyrian gurgled through its breathing apparatus. Primitive science is no more useful than primitive tools. Before Elena could reply, the chamber lights dimmed suddenly and an alarm blared. A new holographic window burst into existence, showing a different part of the station, the industrial wing. Zilani workers huddled together, surrounded by Catherine guards armed with charged spears. The Zilani, a small, fragile species, trembled visibly, many still clutching the tools they had been forced to use under strict quotas. Some held hands in fear, some whispered desperate prayers. One cried softly, its tiny shoulders shaking. A guard captain projected charges in holographic text. Third consecutive failure to meet production expectations. Penalty, death, to reinforce efficiency among labor castes. Elena went utterly still. Chen's jaw tightened. The scientists behind Elena exchanged horrified looks. Even the diplomats took half a step forward, as though instinctively trying to intervene. You intend to execute them? Elena asked softly. Of course, Vexai replied. Fear ensures productivity. The Empire's prosperity rests upon the proper conditioning of inferior species. One of the Zilani on screen cried out, a name, likely a family member waiting in the barracks. A child's voice echoed in the background. Elena's soldiers stiffened at the sound, something primal shifting in their posture. Elena's voice sharpened. These beings have families, lives. They are sentient. That is irrelevant, Vexai said dismissively. They exist to serve, as will you. Elena stepped closer to his throne. The entire council reacted, whispers rising at her boldness. The guards near the walls subtly lifted their weapons. You have no right to murder them, she said, her voice low and lethal. Murder? Vexai snorted, spreading his arms as though explaining basic arithmetic. This is justice. This is order. When the humans join our empire, you will learn to appreciate our efficiency. Elena's expression changed. It was not rage, not shock, something colder, something final. Our species will never join an empire built on chains. Everyone joins, Vexai countered, once they understand the alternative. He nodded. The soldiers stepped forward, 3 times larger than a human, armed with energy pikes, personal shields humming, trained to break civilizations. They had never encountered humans. Commander Chen moved first. Most council members didn't even register the motion. One heartbeat he was standing beside Elena. The next he was between her and the incoming guards. The first guard raised his weapon. Chen blurred past him. A clang rang out, his weapon clattering across the chamber, torn effortlessly from his grip. The second guard activated his personal shield. A shimmering barrier snapped to life. Chen grabbed the shield generator mounted on the guard's wrist, crushed it in one hand. It burst like brittle stone. The third guard swung a heavy spear. Chen pivoted, redirected the force, and punched through the guard's faceplate with such focused precision that the helmet cracked like a ceramic vase. 3 guards down, Chen barely breathing harder. Shock froze the room. Vexai rose half from his throne. Impossible. No species matches Catharan physical strength. Chen didn't look at him. Humans evolved on a world where everything tries to kill us. We got strong by surviving what your species wouldn't last a minute against. Dr. Sarah Kim activated a small, cylindrical device. The chamber's lights flickered. Every console sparked. Defense turrets on the ceiling sputtered and died. Rodriguez drew a weapon no one saw him pull and aimed at the upper platforms where automated systems were trying to reboot. Elena raised her voice. Stop. Nobody move. The council obeyed. Not from respect, from shock. She tapped her wrist communicator. Prometheus, this is Captain Vasquez. We are declaring a diplomatic emergency. Prepare for immediate extraction. You cannot leave, Vexai roared. The council has not dismissed you. Elena faced the entire chamber. The screen still showed the trembling Zilani workers awaiting death. The guards still held them at gunpoint, awaiting the command that never came. You were about to execute 6 innocent people for failing to meet a quota, she said. Then you tried to enslave my species. There is nothing left to discuss. If you leave now, Vexai warned, you declare war on the Empire. The Zephyrian delegate hissed, we will burn your primitive world to ash. Elena's smile returned, except this time, it was devoid of warmth. You're welcome to try, but before you do, there's something you should know, Vexai snarled. What? The Prometheus isn't an exploration ship. Silence fell. It's a diplomatic vessel, Elena continued, and we only bring those when we already know what we're going to find. The council stiffened. Chen stepped backward toward the exit, still keeping himself between the others and any threat. His final words were spoken softly, but every species present felt them like the tolling of a funeral bell. You have no idea what you just started. The blast doors of the council chamber were already beginning to cycle open when Vexai finally shook free from shock and roared, "Guards, stop them!" His shout boomed through the chamber like a seismic tremor, snapping officers and soldiers into panicked motion. But it was already too late. The humans moved as if choreographed, a unit forged from instinct, training, and the unspoken understanding of individuals who had survived horrors together. Commander Chen took point, Elena right behind him, the scientists and diplomats flanking in a protective formation. Rodriguez swept his weapon across the upper balconies, forcing automated turrets to remain offline, while Kim's device continued to pump out destabilizing quantum pulses. Chen didn't even slow down. The first soldier lunged, shield blazing. Chen spun low, deflecting the strike with one forearm, grabbed the guard's leg, and twisted. Bones snapped. The alien crashed into the marble with a crack that echoed across the chamber. Two more guards charged. Chen met them head-on. A hard elbow smashed into the first guard's jaw, breaking it in 3 places. The second swung a plasma baton. Chen caught the wrist mid-strike, twisted, and the baton discharged harmlessly into the air. The guard howled as Chen drove a knee into his gut, then shoved him backward into another incoming soldier. It was not just combat, it was dominance. The humans were not faster. They moved with the precision of creatures who had evolved fighting predators every day of their existence. The council members looked on in pure disbelief. They had witnessed hundreds of species reduced to groveling slaves. They had seen armies break, worlds burn, civilizations erased. They had never seen anyone fight back. Vexai's forearms tensed as he leaned over the railing, rage electrifying his voice. "Restore weapons control! Fire on them!" Sarah Kim flicked her wrist, typing commands on a projected holographic interface. "Already handled," she murmured. The council hall's weapon system sparked violently, then slumped into a dead, smoldering silence. Rodriguez's voice cut through the chaos. "Upper deck secure, no active turrets, movement to our left. Chen, 2 incoming." "I see them." Chen moved without looking. The 2 guards sneaking along the flank collapsed with synchronized groans. Elena never stopped walking. Her pace was calm, steady, cold. She crossed the chamber floor like someone giving a final tour through a museum of extinct ideas. All around them, alien delegates stood frozen. Fear, real fear, oozed into their expressions as they finally understood that the humans were not prey wandering into a predator's den. They were apex predators who had simply learned to be polite. "Prometheus," Elena said into her wristcom. "Room is not secure, but opposition is non-lethal. Begin docking override. Prepare airlock." A clear human voice replied through static, "Acknowledged. Beginning acquisition." Vexai slammed a fist onto the arm of his throne. His voice cracked like a thunderclap. "You will not leave this station alive." Elena stopped walking and turned her head toward him, her posture perfectly still. "If you wanted us dead, Admiral, you should have tried harder." "You dare." "Don't," she said softly. "You're losing." The Admiral froze in place, stunned by the cold certainty in her tone. The humans reached the exit. 2 guards finally mustered the courage to charge. Rodriguez fired a warning blast overhead, melting a decorative chandelier. The guards dove for cover. The doors opened, and then the station screamed. Alarms wailed as the Prometheus executed a full docking override, seizing control of Nexus 7's exterior clamps and airlock systems. Lights flickered. The floor vibrated. The distant thunder of machinery and emergency systems clattering into action filled the hall. What are they doing?" The crystalline delegate shrieked, its harmonic voice glitching. "They're bypassing the station's fail-safes," Zara whispered from her terminal. "They're taking their ship back." Vexhai rounded on her. "Stop them!" I can't, sir. Their hack it's rewriting our access permissions faster than we can counter." "Impossible," Vexhai murmured, but the fear in his voice betrayed the truth. He believed it now. The humans exited into the outer corridor, the heavy doors sealing behind them. The council members remained frozen, some trembling, some seething, all overwhelmed. For several seconds, the entire chamber stayed paralyzed in silence. Then Elena's face reappeared, not in person, but on the colossal central hologram that floated above the floor. "Admiral Vexhai," she said evenly, "your council will remember this moment." Her tone was not angry. It was instructional, like a teacher addressing particularly stubborn pupils. "When your empire comes to attack our world, recall what happened here. We offered friendship. You offered chains." The hologram flickered out. The Prometheus disengaged from the station like a predator pulling its claws free from a stunned victim. The docking clamps exploded outward as the ship powered up, flooding the bay with a gravitational ripple that overloaded screens across the station. Inside, he wasn't listening. He walked to the giant projection window and stared out at the slender white ship drifting away, glowing like a shard of starlight. Unease twisted his gut, a sensation he hadn't felt since he was a young officer watching his first war go poorly. Then, a flash, a distortion, a shockwave that overloaded half the station. The ship vanished. Hyperspace. Faster than anything their sensors could track. Vexhai's comm panel crackled. Zara's terrified voice spilled through. "Admiral, sir, we can't detect them anymore. Their drive signature, there's nothing like it in the archives. No theoretical model covers what we just witnessed." A hush fell over the council. The Void Dweller representative, whose species rarely spoke aloud, whispered in a voice like a dying wind. "What have we provoked?" Vexhai inhaled deeply, composing himself. He turned toward his officers with brutal resolve hardening through every fiber of his body. "Prepare the second fleet." Zara blinked. "Sir?" "Now," he shouted. 12 dreadnoughts, full readiness. I want them in hyperspace within the hour." The crystalline delegate chimed nervously. "Admiral, perhaps we should reconsider diplomatic No," Vexhai snapped. "No negotiation, no retreat. We are the Catherine Empire." He jabbed a finger toward the space where the Prometheus had disappeared. "And we will crush these humans before their arrogance spreads." A murmur of uneasy agreement rippled through the council. But beneath their bravado lingered something corrosive, something new. Doubt. Vexhai stormed out of the chamber, issuing a barrage of orders into his comm. Troops mobilized, weapons primed. Dreadnought crews scrambled through hangars like startled insects. Nexus 7 transformed from diplomatic hub to war machine in mere minutes. But deep down, buried under layers of pride, Vexhai could not ignore the truth. The humans were not what he thought, not weak, not naive, not primitive. They had walked into the heart of the Empire without fear. They had dissected the station's systems as though they'd studied them for decades. They had moved with the ruthless efficiency of soldiers on familiar ground. And worst of all, the Empire had underestimated them. Vexhai glanced once more at the empty space outside the window, swallowing the cold spike of dread. The humans had left peacefully, but not submissively. And his instincts, honed through centuries of conquests, whispered an ancient warning through his mind. "We have awakened something we cannot contain." The hyperspace tunnel surrounding the Imperial Dreadnought conquest shimmered in kaleidoscopic blue, streaks of quantum light twisting like serpents outside the observation windows. Admiral Vexhai stood rigid on the command bridge, his 4 arms braced on the hollow table as stars warped and compressed around them. Behind him, a formation of 12 dreadnoughts, each a city-sized fortress armed with enough firepower to level continents, roared silently through the void. The Second Fleet, the pride of the Empire, unbeaten across 3 sectors, a force that had crushed rebellions, shattered civilizations, and burned resistance movements out of existence. Approaching target coordinates, Navigator Thane reported, excitement barely constrained in his voice. He was young, one of the rising stars of the Imperial Academy. This mission, he believed, would cement his legacy. Vexhai nodded, though there was no victory thrill inside him, only a heavy, growing pressure in his chest. Prepare for emergence. Across the bridge, officers straightened. Displays recalibrated. Weapons systems hummed to life. The dreadnought crews braced as hyperspace writhed violently, then collapsed in a blinding flash. The fleet dropped into real space. And the universe changed. Thane's breath hitched. Sir, this can't be correct. Vexhai's eyes widened as the tactical displays lit up with impossible readings. Before them stretched a solar system unlike anything the Empire had ever documented. Not one habitable world, dozens. Not a scattered colony system, an entire interstellar civilization. Planets covered end to end with glittering megacities. Space habitats spanning thousands of kilometers. Orbital rings, industrial platforms, Dyson-like constructs harvesting starlight. Asteroid belts carved into symmetrical mining grids. Trade ships moving like swarms of metallic fireflies. A civilization not simply existing here. Thriving, expanding, evolving. This cannot be, Vexhai whispered. Our scouts reported nothing. No settlements, no structures, not even oxygen signatures. Sir, Sensor Officer Crick said, voice trembling, their energy output, it dwarfs anything we have on record. Some of these power signatures exceed dreadnought reactors by a factor of... She stopped. The number broke her courage to speak. Vexhai's 4 hands pressed into the hollow table. How long has this civilization existed? No one answered. Because the truth was terrifying, they had missed it. All of it. A beep cut through the stunned silence. Incoming signals, Crick shouted. Multiple vectors. The main hollow screen split. Ship icons appeared. Hundreds of them. And more emerging, she cried. They're decloaking from behind orbital stations. No, from the asteroid fields. No, emerging out of stealth gating signatures around Lagrange points. Sir, they're everywhere. The human fleet materialized like a tightening noose around the 12 dreadnoughts. Sleek, silent, predatory. Their hulls bore smooth armor with no visible seams. Their engines emitted no exhaust. Their signatures barely registered. Each ship ghost-like, razor-efficient, terrifying in its perfection. How many vessels? Vexhai asked quietly. Crick swallowed. 237, and climbing. Thane forced a weak smile. We still outmatch them. 12 dreadnoughts are... The screen changed again. More human ships emerged. 300, 400, 500. An entire wall of steel and starlight. A spear aimed at the heart of the Empire. Then the comm request appeared. A single word. Humanity. Vexhai hesitated, then accepted the transmission. A human woman materialized on screen. Older than Elena Vasquez, with iron-gray hair and sharp, clear eyes. Her uniform bore a constellation of stars signifying ranks so high, even Vexhai couldn't immediately compare it to his own. I am Rear Admiral Sarah Mitchell of the Earth Defense Force, she said. Her tone was cordial, almost gentle, yet firm enough to cut armor. She spoke in flawless standard. You have entered human space without authorization. State your intent. Vexhai straightened, regaining a shred of imperial pride. I am Admiral Vexhai of the Catharan Empire. Your species has committed crimes against the Galactic Order. We have come to bring you to justice. Mitchell raised an eyebrow. Crimes? Assault on Imperial personnel, Vexhai barked, threatening council representatives, refusing to accept your place within the Empire's hierarchy. You will surrender your fleet immediately. Mitchell did not flinch. Her expression didn't even shift. Admiral, she said softly, do you know anything about human history? Vexai scoffed. Why would I study primal savages? Mitchell nodded slowly, as if she had expected that answer. Humanity, she began, has survived ice ages that extinguished most life on our world. We've endured diseases that killed half our population. We fought global wars with weapons that could have ended civilization. Her eyes darkened. But we survived. We adapted. We evolved. Vexai waved a dismissive forearm. Ancient nonsense. You face the Empire now. Our deadliest weapons, Mitchell continued, were turned into engines. Our engines into starships. Our starships into a coalition that spans 400 systems. Silence. We have been preparing for this moment, she said, for 3 centuries. Preparing for what? Vexai demanded. Mitchell leaned forward, her face filling the screen. The moment we finally met an empire built on slavery. The communication cut. Warning klaxons shrieked through the dreadnought bridge. Cricks yelled, human fleet moving. They're forming attack patterns around us. They dare? Vexai roared. All ships prepare for battle. His order transformed the bridge. Officers snapped into position. Targeting arrays came online. Dreadnought cannons began to glow with captured stellar energy. Target their largest vessel, Vexai commanded. Fire on my mark. Weapons Officer Dell's hands danced across the interface. Charging main batteries. The Dreadnought's forward cannon swiveled toward the nearest human capital ship, an elegant, blade-like construct that seemed to reflect no light. Fire! A beam erupted, a sun's worth of fury compressed into a single streak of annihilation. It tore through space like a god's spear, striking the human vessel dead center. The bridge lit up with blinding white. Officers shielded their eyes. When the light faded, the human ship remained perfect, untouched. Not a single scorch mark on its home. The dreadnought bridge fell silent. That is impossible, Vexai whispered, voice hollow. Nothing can withstand a direct hit from our primary cannons. Sir, Crick said, her voice tiny and breaking. The humans are returning fire. At first, nothing appeared on sensors. Then, small, fast-moving objects materialized from the human ships, accelerating at speeds incomprehensible to Imperial physics. Projectiles? Dell said. No energy signatures. No guidance beams. How are they? One of the objects suddenly curved mid-flight, dodging a debris cloud, then adjusting again to avoid a gravitational wake. They're thinking, Crix breathed. Sir, those weapons are thinking. The first human missile hit the dreadnought Guardian. The explosion consumed the ship in a sphere of white-hot vaporization, so bright every dreadnought's screens auto-dimmed. When the light cleared, the Guardian was gone. Not damaged, not crippled, gone. Shields up, Vexai roared. Evasive man, he never finished. A second missile tore through the dreadnought Thunder, ignoring its shields, slicing its armor open like paper. The ship cracked apart, spilling molten metal into the void before evaporating entirely. The Third Fleet's anthem blared over the emergency channels, and abruptly cut off as the Retribution vanished in a burst of expanding plasma. Ships died faster than names could be spoken. 20 seconds, 40 seconds, 1 minute. Half the Second Fleet was gone. Sir, we're losing ships faster than we can count, Thing cried. His voice had cracked into helplessness. We can't track their weapons. They're predicting our movement patterns before we even input them. Vexai stared at the tactical holomap as it updated in real time. Bright red icons blinking out one by one. His dreadnoughts, his pride, his invincible fleet being dismantled like toys. Retreat, he shouted. All ships, retreat. Sir, they're jamming the navigation arrays, Crick screamed. We can't calculate a hyperspace jump. On the screen, Admiral Mitchell appeared again. Her tone was calm, too calm. This is your last chance, Admiral. Surrender now and we will allow your remaining ships to return to Imperial space. Vexai stared numbly at the ruin of his fleet. Of 12 dreadnoughts, 4 flickered weakly on sensors. The rest were gone, erased by weapons the Empire couldn't comprehend. What message should I carry?" he asked, voice breaking. Mitchell didn't blink. "Tell your council that Earth is protected by the human coalition. Tell them any attack on coalition citizens will be met with an appropriate response." She paused. "And tell them we know where all their worlds are." Vexhai's breath froze. "And we're coming to free every slave in their empire." The transmission ended. The jamming lifted. "Navigator," Vexhai whispered, "prepare emergency jump coordinates." Yes, sir," Thane stammered. Vexhai slumped into his chair, hollow, defeated. "A force we cannot conquer," he murmured. The 4 surviving dreadnoughts jumped to hyperspace, carrying the first message of fear the Empire had felt in centuries. Behind them, the human coalition ships drifted back into formation, silent, cold, and merciless. A storm had begun, and the Empire had no idea how to stop it. The news struck the Empire like a meteor impact. The Second Fleet, the Empire's hammer, the force that had crushed rebellions, vaporized planetary insurgencies, and rewritten the fate of civilizations, was gone. Not defeated, not repelled, erased. Across 10,000 worlds, panic rippled through military channels, political chambers, and working castes alike. Rumors spread faster than official broadcasts. The humans destroyed 12 dreadnoughts. No, they destroyed them in under 30 minutes. No, they destroyed them without taking a single hit. No one escaped but 4 ships. The Empire is not invincible. And beneath the frightened whispers of citizens, a different murmur started to grow among the enslaved billions. Freedom is possible. On Catheria Prime, the central heart of the Empire, Supreme Commander Thax, newly appointed after Vexhai's humiliating defeat, strode into the Grand Strategy Chamber. His 6 arms tightened reflexively, claws clicking against each other like grinding stone. He was massive even by Catherine's standards, muscles coiled under his armored uniform, his presence radiating command. The chamber filled with delegates representing the 7 dominant imperial species. Their expressions flickered with agitation. Some crackled, some writhed, some whispered, but all were afraid. Thax raised a hand. Instantly, silence. "What happened to the Second Fleet," he began, "will not happen again. We will not allow a primitive species to challenge the authority of the Empire." A crystalline representative chimed sharply, its body vibrating in dissonant notes. "But Commander, the humans destroyed dreadnought-class vessels. Their weapons." "Weakness in leadership," Thax interrupted coldly. "Vexhai underestimated them. We will not repeat that mistake." The Void Dweller delegate shifted, its amorphous form flickering like a shadow caught in a magnetic storm. "And yet," it whispered, "sensor readings from the battle are disturbing." "We adapt," Thax snapped. "We overcome. We are the Empire." A young aide burst into the room, breathless. "Commander, urgent news. Humans have attacked the labor colonies at Zerion Prime." A tense ripple passed through the chamber. Thax's jaw hardened. "Losses?" The aide swallowed. "None, sir. They didn't attack our forces. They landed troops and freed the slaves, 20 million Zalani. Then they evacuated them off-world before reinforcements could arrive." Silence. The crystalline representative's voice cracked like shattering glass. 20 million? Gone? Just like that? The aide hesitated. "Our garrison tried to stop them. The humans offered surrender. The garrison refused." "And?" "Destroyed in 14 minutes, sir." The chamber erupted in terrified discussion. Species that had once seen themselves as masters of the galaxy now trembled at the idea of an enemy who targeted no civilians, only the instruments of oppression. An enemy who struck with scalpel precision, not brute force. An enemy who seemed to know the Empire's weaknesses more intimately than the Empire itself. "More reports, Commander," the aide's voice quivered. 15 slave worlds in the outer territories have been liberated in the last 8 hours. Billions freed. Human fleets appeared out of nowhere. Our forces were overwhelmed before they could respond. Thax stared at the tactical display. Red spheres, lost systems, spread across the holographic map like a hemorrhage. Yellow systems, the ones under attack, were multiplying. Green, still under Empire control, dwindled. How, Thax whispered, are they moving so fast? A quiet, terrified realization settled across the chamber. Humanity wasn't improvising. They were executing a plan. A long, carefully crafted plan. The aide tapped another hollow window. Text scrolled rapidly. Commander, intercepted communications show coordinated resistance movements rising across hundreds of worlds. It appears the humans have been working with them for years. Thax turned slowly, eyes narrowing. Years? Yes, sir. How many resistance cells? Another delegate demanded, panic rising. We can't count. Hundreds, thousands, coordinated through encrypted channels. Every attack by the humans coincides with uprisings. So they planned this entire war, Thax said, voice low, before they ever announced themselves. In the outer territories, the scale of the liberation became undeniable. On the dust-covered plains of Torvak 9, enslaved laborers dropped their tools in astonishment as human dropships descended like falling stars. Human Marines in midnight black armor marched out, escorting terrified aliens aboard transport carriers. We won't hurt you, they said calmly. You're free. Free. The word was a bomb. Everywhere it landed, the Empire cracked. On aquatic worlds, enslaved Mir threw down welding torches and helped the humans dismantle underwater weapons platforms. On volcanic mining colonies, the enslaved Gore roared in triumph, overpowering their guards and tearing down slave compounds. Some worlds surrendered the moment humans arrived, raising improvised banners of hope. Humanity wasn't conquering. They were liberating. Back in the Grand Strategy Chamber, Thax forced himself to stay composed. We will respond, he declared. Mobilize the Great Fleet. Gasps filled the room. Mobilizing the Great Fleet meant calling every military resource from the core to the frontier. It meant pulling ships from occupied territories, stripping garrisons, and drafting billions of soldiers. It had never been done. Until now. Within hours, the Empire began assembling the largest military force in its history. 10,000 warships, bioships from Zephyria, living vessels with regenerative hulls. Crystalline dreadnoughts, grown, not built, harder than diamond. Void ships, flickering in and out of phase with space. Hybrid carriers, planetary assault barges, hunter-killer wings. Every world contributed something. Every dockyard activated. Every enslaved race was forced into last-ditch military service. Tens of billions conscripted. Weapons forged. Engines screamed. The Empire prepared to crush humanity with sheer, overwhelming force. Thax addressed the fleet as the Armada rallied near Catheria Prime. Soldiers of the Empire. The humans believe they can destroy us with tricks and technology. They believe they can challenge our dominion. They are wrong. We are the storm that has ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years. Today we remind them, and every species, why. The fleet erupted in a roar of synthesized battle cries. But beneath the bravado, beneath the chaos of preparation, the truth gnawed. The Empire was terrified. Hundreds of light years away, the human coalition prepared too. At the heart of their command network sat Admiral Elena Vasquez, now promoted after the first encounter, and Admiral Marcus Chen, leading humanity's largest battle group. They watched long-range scans of the mustering Imperial Armada. 10,000 ships, Chen muttered, arms folded. The biggest fleet in recorded history. And still not enough, Elena said quietly. Around them, dozens of coalition officers worked with calm precision. Humans, Zelani, Mir, crystalline refugees, void dwellers, all united under a banner that had never existed before the war. Coalition Liberation Force. Status? Elena asked. All fleets report ready, replied her tactical officer. Resistance cells are synchronized. Phase 2 operations begin on your mark. Elena nodded slowly. Begin. A wave of coordinated attacks surged across the Empire. Human ships disabling communication relays. Crystalline coalition engineers hacking military infrastructures they once built for their masters. Zelani technicians overloading power grids they had been forced to maintain as slaves. Mere saboteurs infiltrating oceanic fuel bases. Within 6 hours, the Empire lost contact with 57 core worlds. Within 12 hours, 114 worlds fell into chaos or liberation. By hour 18, the Empire's map had become a sea of red. Fax watched in disbelief as system after system went silent. How? He whispered. How did we lose half the Empire before firing a single shot? His aide trembled. Sir, the humans learned everything about us. Our bases, our weaknesses, our trade routes, our command structure. They knew everything. The terrible realization painted itself across Thax's face. The Prometheus's first contact mission wasn't curiosity. It was reconnaissance. The final step before a war humanity had been preparing for generations. Sir, the aide said through a cracking voice, multiple human fleets moving to intercept the Great Armada. Unknown number of ships. Hyperspace trails off all charts. Thax stared at the cosmic map in front of him. Thousands of red enemy signatures moving like a tide. He exhaled. Very well, he said. All ships, prepare for engagement. He paused. We are about to learn what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable empire. But deep down, he already knew. And so did the galaxy. The final battle was coming. The Battle of Catheria Prime began in silence. 10,000 Imperial warships, an armada so vast it wrapped around the planet in a glittering ring of metal and fury, drifted in formation like a mechanical eclipse. The core of the Empire, protected by a fleet that no power had ever dared challenge, now faced the approaching storm of the human coalition. The first human ships appeared on long-range sensors like faint blips. Then more. Then more. Then the sensors failed to keep up. Within minutes, the space around Catheria Prime teemed with sleek, midnight black vessels, crystalline refugee carriers, Zelani stealth ships, mere submersible adapted cruisers repurposed for vacuum combat, and dozens of coalition-built capital ships radiating energy signatures that defied classification. Humanity had not come alone. They had brought every species the Empire had oppressed, every race that had tasted freedom and chosen to fight for it. Commander Thax stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship Dominion, his 6 arms locked onto the command rail as the tactical holomap updated with terrifying speed. Enemy icons swarmed like a living cloud. A whisper filled the bridge. We're surrounded. Fax bared his fangs. No, we surround them. But even he felt the weakness in his words. Across the channel, Admiral Elena Vasquez appeared, her projection towering across the Dominion's bridge like a ghost of judgment. Her uniform bore the newly forged symbol of the Coalition Liberation Fleet, 3 stars intertwined, representing humanity, the freed, and the future. Commander Thax, she said, her voice clear and steady. This conflict ends today. Surrender, and no more lives need be lost. Thax snarled. We are the Empire. We do not surrender. Then prepare to face the consequences of 1,000 years of cruelty, Elena replied softly. The connection cut. Thax roared. All ships, fire at will. The Empire fired first. 10,000 beams, torpedoes, grav lances, and bioplasma arcs streaked across the void, turning space into a lattice of glowing death. Entire sectors lit up white-hot. The Coalition didn't flinch. Their shields shimmered like ripples over water. Human capital ships absorbed barrages that should have cracked asteroids. Zelani stealth cruisers flickered in and out of phase, dodging entire volleys. Crystalline carriers refracted energy into harmless beams of rainbow light. Then the Coalition responded. Human AI-guided missiles spread through the battlefield like a swarm of intelligent insects, weaving through Imperial shields, slipping under armor plating, predicting evasive maneuvers before Imperial pilots even initiated them. One dreadnought tried to run. The missiles followed. It vanished in a flash of white. Bioships shrieked in psychic agony as coalition tactical disruptors scrambled their neural cores. Void ships attempted phase-shifting retreats, only to be caught in gravitational nets the humans had designed, using physics the Empire didn't even have equations for. Imperial formations collapsed in minutes. In 30 minutes, half the armada was gone. In 3 hours, the outer ring of defenses imploded. By hour 6, the Great Fleet, once the largest military force in known history, was shattered. Ship debris littered orbit like a metallic graveyard, and at the center of the ruin, the flagship Dominion drifted, burning. Inside the bridge, half the crew lay unconscious from shockwaves. Fires burned in containment fields. Panels flickered in dying pulses. Thax knelt beneath a shattered command rail, unable to stand. He stared at the tactical display, now mostly empty. Human ships surrounded them in a silent halo. A single transmission blinked across the screen. He accepted it. Admiral Elena Vasquez appeared. Her eyes were not triumphant, only resolute. "Commander Thax," she said quietly, "it's over." He snarled weakly. "Finish us then. Kill us. End it." "No," Elena shook her head. "We're not here to exterminate you. We're here to free those you have enslaved, including your own people." Thax stared at her, the words striking something deep, something he had never allowed himself to feel: doubt. "The Empire fell," she continued, "not because we destroyed your fleets, but because it was built on a foundation that was always going to collapse. Fear." Thax lowered his head. "Then I will face my punishment. Kill me, and let this shame end." Elena approached him, not physically, but her projection walked closer, lowering to meet his eyes. "We don't kill prisoners," she said softly. "That is what set us apart from the Empire." Her voice echoed across the silent bridge, reaching even the wounded officers clinging to consciousness. "You will be tried for your crimes, and you will have representation. Justice, not vengeance, will decide your fate." Thax was silent for a long time. Then his voice cracked. "I do not understand your kind." "You will," Elena said, and the transmission ended. 3 months later, the palace that once housed the Empire's ruling council had been transformed. Gone were the banners of domination, the statues of warlords, the symbols of oppression. In their place, scaffolding crawled across the marble floors as workers, free workers, dismantled weapon emplacements and turned slave quarters into refuge centers. Elena Vasquez stood in the center of the former council chamber, now redesigned into a democratic assembly hall. She wore a new uniform, navy blue with gold trim, the symbol of unity glinting at the chest. A delegation of dozens of species surrounded her, their voices quieting as she stepped onto the central platform. The holographic feed connected to every liberated world. Elena drew a breath. "Citizens of the galaxy," she began, her voice steady, resonating through the chamber. 3 months ago, the Catherine Empire fell. Not by conquest, not by annihilation, but by liberation. Billions watched through screens, projections, psychic links. For 1,000 years, the strong oppressed the weak. Fear ruled. Chains were considered order. Slavery was named efficiency. She lifted her gaze to the 7 empty thrones of the former council, now covered in white cloth. "That age ends today." A ripple of emotion spread through the audience. "We hereby establish the Galactic Democratic Union," Elena declared. "A union of free species, governed not by power, but by equality. Not by fear, but by cooperation." A cheer erupted, rolling like thunder across the chamber. "No world will be forced into servitude. Every species will have a voice. Every citizen will have rights that no empire can erase." She paused. "The age of empires is over. The age of liberation begins." The cheers grew louder. Zalani workers cried openly. Mere soldiers saluted. Crystalline delegates vibrated in harmonics of celebration. Former imperial citizens watched with confusion, wonder, and, some for the first time, hope. Later that day, Elena walked through the capital's rebuilt square. Children of multiple species played together on ground that once hosted military parades. A Catherine child passed her, giggling as it chased a mere youngster with a luminous toy. Hope felt strange, but good. Her communicator chimed. Admiral Sarah Mitchell appeared. Elena, Mitchell said with a rare smile, the Coalition Assembly has cast their votes. They want you as the first Secretary General of the Union. Elena exhaled quietly. I'll accept. There's more, Mitchell added. Your next assignment. A star map unfolded behind her, highlighting a distant galaxy. Andromeda. Elena raised an eyebrow. Exploration and liberation if needed, Mitchell said. The UES Horizon launches next month. The galaxy is free. It's time to look beyond. The transmission faded. 6 months later, Elena stood on the observation deck of the UES Horizon, the largest exploration vessel ever constructed by the Coalition. It hung in orbit like a gleaming blade of silver light, its engines humming with an energy more advanced than anything humans had revealed before. Course plotted, ma'am, the ship's captain said. Elena looked at the stars, at the freedom humanity had sparked, in the future they were carving for others. Take us out, she said. The horizon accelerated, space bending around it as it leapt into hyperspace. Behind them, the Milky Way glittered, reborn, united, hopeful. Ahead, darkness waited. But humanity had always walked into darkness with their heads high, because they were no longer alone. And as the stars streaked around the horizon, Elena whispered the truth that had guided them from the start. Freedom isn't given, it's fought for, and it changes everything. The ship vanished into hyperspace. The age of liberation had begun.